For more than 200 years, the Patapsco Valley has been the focal point for historic events and scientific discoveries that have transformed Maryland and the nation. Joining me on SMARTS is Mary Catherine Cochran, Executive Director of Patapsco Heritage Greenway, to tell us more. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
I'm going to ask a really basic question.
Sure.
Can you describe to me the location of the Patapsco Valley and that area?
Sure. Well, the Patapsco Valley is formed by the Patapsco River, and it's about 39 miles long. And it extends from the confluence of the south and north branches in Marriottsville, and it goes all the way to what we know as the Inner Harbor, which is the mouth of the Patapsco River. So the heritage area is a portion of that, and that goes from the Daniels area all the way down to Relay. So it's one subset of the larger watershed.
Oh, okay, great. Well, now I'm glad to know about that. So the whole valley, though, has a pretty interesting history.
It's a great history, and it actually goes back thousands of years, because before the European settlers, we had native populations like the Algonquins and the Piscataways that used it as their fishing and hunting grounds. And in 1608, the first European explorer, which was Captain John Smith, came up the river and documented the area. And shortly thereafter, in the 1700s, the settlers came in and they started to harness the power of the river to build their mills. And it really is it's the cradle of the Industrial Revolution in America. You might have learned that was in New England when you were in high school, but it's really right here in the Patapsco Valley. Exactly, exactly.
Right, and then even more recent history. I know that it has a great railroad history, adult beverage history, and then also science history. Let's talk about those three.
So the B&O Railroad it came through the valley. It followed along the river, and it was really built to help the mill workers and the farmers export their goods back out. And it started, of course, in Baltimore. If you've been to the Roundhouse, you've seen it there. Absolutely. And then it comes through across the amazing national landmark Thomas Viaduct Bridge, which is part of the Patapsco State Park, and comes to the first railroad station, which is the Ellicott City Railroad Station. So we have the first rail station and the first really connection in the United States right here in the Patapsco Valley. And we're going to get ready to celebrate our 200th anniversary in just 10 years.
That's big, yeah.
That's very big. We're going to be, you're going to see a lot, you're going to be learning a lot more about the railroad.
Well, see, people always learn a lot on this show. There's a lot I'm learning today.
That's right.
Tell me about what we call the adult beverage history of the
area. That's an evolving history, because in the area of where the Thomas Viaduct is, the Elk Ridge and Relay and St. Denis Route 1 area, we're going to have a new brewer coming to town. It's actually a very old brewer, which is Guinness, who brews on the River Liffey in Dublin. Now they're going to be brewing on the River Patapsco.
Okay, they have a sister river here.
Sister river, that's right. And we're really excited to have them here. And they're taking over space that was the old Calvert Distillery, and so they're reusing a space that's always created and distilled liquor and in Maryland. So that history is there. And in anticipation of their coming, because they're going to bring thousands of visitors to the area.
Absolutely.
We're working with the Public History Department at UMBC, and their students are cataloging the history of Relay and St. Denis and Elk Ridge, and they're going to share that with the Baltimore Heritage app. So if you're sitting and enjoying an adult beverage at Guinness, you'll be able to look up on your phone and really learn about the history of the area, that the Tom Thumb race was here, that Relay was the first railroad town in America, or the Thomas Viaduct is the national landmark. So
all while enjoying a big, cool one. There.
Exactly, right. So
tell me a little bit about the connection with the Patapsco and Benjamin Banneker.
Oh my gosh! Well, so Benjamin Banneker is one of our foremost scientists. He was an astronomer and he wrote an almanac, and he conversed, and we have letters that he wrote back and forth to Thomas Jefferson. He was a free African American. His father was a slave. His mother was a free white woman, and he was raised right outside of Oella in Baltimore County. And there's an amazing little museum there called the Benjamin Banneker Historical Park and Museum. And they have a cabin that's a reproduction of the cabin that he grew up in. They have great demonstrations, and there's a lot of wonderful stuff to see at that museum.
All right. Now, one thing I didn't know about, we talked about before coming on air, was that it was the first Maryland state park.
It is, right? Yes, that's right. Good for you. The Patapsco Valley State Park was the first state park, and it actually was the cradle of conservation and the cradle of forestry in the state of Maryland. So it's an amazing park. It's It has over 200 miles of trails,
Oh,
and
terrific.
it's wonderful. But it's full of history because it runs along the river,
Right.
where the mill towns used to be. But the floods over the last few hundred years knocked them out. So the park is full of sort of ruins and archaeological areas. And so the last year, Backpacker magazine named the Patapsco one of America's best state parks, and they called it a see if I can get this right, a history nerds paradise. So because you walk along the trails and then you find these great.
So can you look for artifacts and things
Sure.
as you walk?
You'll see the old railroad bridges, and you'll see the actual railroad tracks. You'll find in the old days, you know how they used to make. When you picture railroad tracks, you picture the wooden cross ties.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have a lot of wood. They used granite. These granite stringers.
Wow.
So you can walk along the trails and you'll see the old granite stringers that are just sort of strewn along the pathway, or the foundations of the mill buildings. Or there's a lot of wonderful history in the
Well,
park.
it sounds like it's something for all ages and all interests.
Oh,
you can
absolutely.
do just about everything. Get outside, and
Absolutely.
it's great family.
That's right. And we're not just about the park and the trails. We're also focus on the towns like Catonsville and Relay and Ellicott City and Oella, and we encourage people to visit the main streets.
And all those little towns you mentioned have great arts, great stores,
live
great
music.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful.
It's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Sure, come and
I know
visit
where
us.
I'm going next. So thank you so much,
You're
Mary Catherine
welcome.
Cochran. History, arts, and a beautiful valley. Come on, get out and discover Patapsco. And I'm Carolyn Black-Sotier, and this is SMARTS, the Baltimore County Arts and Culture Show.